Looking at Tehran today, a massive, bustling, and stifling megacity of 15 million people, it's hard to believe its foundation of power began in a tiny pomegranate orchard. Spring of 1786. There were no epic sieges filling the sky with smoke and fire, no giant catapults. The event that permanently altered the axis of the entire Middle East began in silence. Mud-stained farmers unbarred the wooden gates of a small town named Tehran with their own hands. Welcoming them was a short, gaunt, one-eyed, and beardless man. With a mere flick of his wrist, that man brushed aside proud millennia-old metropolises like Isfahan and Shiraz, turning an obscure patch of pomegranate groves into the beating heart of a new empire. Do you think the greatness of a capital is always built on marble and pride? Think again. Deep beneath the soil of this metropolis lie tens of thousands of gouged-out human eyes, the bones of enemies, and the lives of black slaves. Journey with us to Tehran, the new capital of the eunuch and the farmers who lived underground, the new capital of the inheritor of the great Persian civilization. Welcome to the blood-soaked rise of the imperial city of Tehran. Let's begin. Monarchs typically choose their capitals from large, convenient, bustling cities where power can be easily flaunted. But if we rewind the clock to before 1786, in the eyes of a Persian farmer at that time, Tehran was merely a lush oasis on the northern edge of a barren central plateau. Nestled at the foot of the steep slopes of the Alborz Mountains, it was a humble suburb of the ancient city of Rey, a closed, tranquil agricultural ecosystem, vibrant with nature's colors. It was blanketed by verdant orchards, babbling brooks, and gently rolling hills. The air was filled with the fragrance of endless pomegranate gardens. The pomegranate was a sacred symbol of fertility and resilient survival, frequently appearing in traditional rituals. But the most fascinating aspect of this town was its architecture. To escape the scorching summer heat, the biting winter cold, and the sweeping raids of bandits, the people of Tehran dug underground homes. They carved directly into compacted volcanic ash or mudflats without the need for mortar or stone, creating a perfectly insulated living environment. From a distance, the town seemed invisible. 15,000 people lived scattered across 12 neighborhoods called mahallés, constantly snarling and competing for every meter of land. Even though Shah Tahmasp, the first of the Safavid dynasty, had made efforts in 1554 to build a square city wall with 4 gates, 114 watchtowers, and a small covered bazaar, the place still resembled a military outpost far more than a city. And to sustain this self-contained ecosystem amidst a semi-arid region, they relied on the qanat, an ancient masterpiece of hydrological engineering. Artisans dug dozens of kilometers of gently sloping underground tunnels, channeling pure water from the aquifers at the foot of the Alborz Mountains straight into the bazaars. This primitive urban structure was a brilliant example of human adaptability, construction, and utilization of nature. The agricultural economy operated slowly and poetically. Men grew pomegranates, nomads herded sheep on the fringes of the oasis, while women harvested fruit and wove coarse woolen cloth. Groundwater flowed naturally by gravity, needing no pumps. Tehran was a peaceful nocturne of self-sufficient agriculture. But that peace was terribly fragile. That serene picture with its carts full of vibrant red pomegranates was about to be wiped out by a political storm brought by a conqueror from the north. Eunuchs were not an oddity in Eastern courts. The histories of East and West Asia are not short of great eunuchs, but for one to rise from a eunuch to the absolute ruler of an empire that requires a true monster. In the mid-18th century, the Persian Empire was plunged into a brutal civil war following the collapse of the Safavid dynasty. In 1748, a 6-year-old boy named Aga Muhammad, the eldest son of the Kavanlu, chieftain of the Qajar tribe, was captured by Adel Shah, the last successor of the Safavid dynasty. To prevent the boy from becoming a future tribal leader, Aga Muhammad was castrated and sent to the court of Karim Khan, the founding king of the Zand dynasty, ruling the south, to serve as a eunuch, earning the title Aga. For 16 years in the gilded cage of King Karim Khan's palace in Shiraz, just to survive, the young eunuch silently observed. He learned every political trick, every deceit, and the art of seeing right through the weaknesses of his enemies. The moment Karim Khan took his last breath in 1779, Aga Muhammad immediately fled Shiraz, riding hard for the north, igniting a bloody war to unify Persia. Starting with nothing but his bare hands, yet armed with military genius and political acumen, he quickly subdued and united the fractured Qajar tribes. He then marched his army southward, crushing every warlord and remnant of the Zand dynasty one by one, step by step absorbing and reunifying the shattered Persian Empire and seizing the throne of the Shahanshah. This man was the archetype of a stoic general. He lived an austere, frugal life like a common foot soldier, eating from the same pot as his men. Yet he frequently utilized ruthless violence as a tool for deterrence and projecting power. Furthermore, years of torment and fierce warfare had cost him an eye, leaving him with a short, emaciated, and one-eyed appearance that made anyone who looked at him feel a mixture of contempt and pure dread. In the midst of that bloody conquest, Aga Muhammad Khan led the Qajar army to besiege Tehran, which was under the control of the Zand dynasty. Isolated and well aware of the enemy's brutality, on March 12, 1786, the leaders of Tehran's 12 neighborhoods opened their gates and surrendered. Aga Muhammad Khan entered Tehran and, with a brief declaration, officially chose it as the new capital of the empire. Why a mud-brick village instead of the magnificent ancient capitals of Isfahan and Shiraz? This was a carefully calculated chess move by Aga Muhammad Khan. First was the power vacuum. Isfahan was the ruin of the Safavid dynasty. Shiraz was the stronghold of Zand remnants. Both places were thick with deeply entrenched noble families, tangled webs of relationships, and massive underground syndicates. Establishing a capital in Tehran, a place devoid of the old political elite, was like drawing on a blank piece of paper, allowing him absolute control. Second was its rearguard position and logistical convenience. Tehran lay right against the foothills, leading to Mazandaran, the homeland of the Qajars. Remember, Aga Muhammad belonged to the Kavanlu branch of the Qajar tribe. Here, he had the continuous backing of his kinsmen. Moreover, in case of an emergency, the royal family had a perfectly safe escape route. It also served as a northern shield. The Russian Empire was expanding aggressively southward into the Caucasus. Tehran acted as a forward command post to counter the Tsar's armies. His decision to move the capital to this undeveloped land brought with it tens of thousands of soldiers and their families. Soon after, merchants, artisans, builders, and commoners flocked here to construct an imperial capital, one that stands firm to this very day. The proud South refused to kneel before a northern eunuch king. Lutf Ali Khan, the last prince of the Zand dynasty, a chivalrous warrior of striking beauty and generous spirit, became the vanguard of the resistance. In 1794, the people of Kerman bravely opened their gates to Lutf Ali Khan, directly challenging the legitimacy of the Tehran throne. The reaction of Aga Muhammad Khan, the man ruling from the absolute peak, was a campaign of horrific decimation. After a suffocating 4-month siege that plunged Kerman into a devastating famine, the city fell. The Qajar army swarmed in, and the gates of hell were thrown open. Over 20,000 women and children were enslaved. But for the adult men, The vengeance was truly blood-soaked. The harshest sentence was beheading, and the rest were blinded. Bamboo baskets containing tens of thousands of bloody human eyes were brought forth, poured out at the feet of the eunuch king so he could count them one by one with the tip of his sword. Prince Lotfa Ali Khan was captured and subsequently hanged in Tehran. Aga Khan ordered the exhumation of the former king Karim Khan's remains in Shiraz. His dry bones were brought to Tehran and buried right under the threshold of the Golistan Palace. This ensured that every single day, as the king and the Qajar courtiers walked to the throne, they would trample upon the remains of their enemy. The massacre at Kerman and the bones beneath the steps established a religion of fear. Any doubt or opposition to the new order would be paid for with the dissenters' own eyes. As the new dynasty began for every palace that rose to catch the sunlight, tens of thousands of lives had to be buried in the deepest darkness to serve as its foundation. Within just a decade, after 1786, Tehran's social structure was completely transformed. The population exploded from 15,000 to over 50,000. The underground houses were leveled, replaced by the Citadel Square and bustling herb bazaars. The idyllic charm of the oasis village vanished, giving way to a massive class divide. The Qajar aristocracy controlled almost all the wealth, leaving the scraps for the merchants. The opulence of silk carpets and carved wooden palaces was sustained by a familiar institution, the slave market. Tehran's slave network was international in scale. From the north, the Caucasus, and Georgia, beautiful Caucasian women were kidnapped to become concubines for the nobility, while strong men were thrown into the military. From the Southeast Africa and Zanzibar, tens of thousands of black people were trafficked across the Persian Gulf. Black women were worked to the bone, day and night, as maids, while young black boys were castrated to become eunuchs guarding the harems. In this new economic machine, human beings were no longer seen as human. Feudal law treated slaves merely as a form of consumption to flaunt the status of the rich. The peasant women who once freely picked pomegranates were now herded into carpet-weaving workshops, working until they were half-blind to cater to extravagant tastes. Capital flowed in reverse from the countryside to the city, pooling in the silk pockets of the Qajar chieftains, creating the first systematic labor exploitation in this metropolis. The decision to relocate the capital in 1786 brought security guarantees to the royal family and turned this bare oasis into a magnificent city, but it was a death sentence for Tehran's natural environment. The mechanical population boom acted like a malignant tumor. The vibrant pomegranate and mulberry orchards that were once the soul of the town were ruthlessly cut down to clear land for construction and expand the city walls. The greatest tragedy befell the Qanat canal system. Originally designed brilliantly to serve a community of 15,000, the underground water network now had to strain under the weight of the living bathing and agricultural needs of over 50,000 people. The pure water dried up rapidly. Worse still, rampant surface construction blocked natural water flows, and the dumping of waste directly polluted the groundwater. On a macroeconomic level, Aga Mohammad Khan unwittingly infected Iran with an incurable disease, the primate city syndrome. By cramming all political, military, and commercial power into a single desolate valley, Tehran sucked the lifeblood out of the rest of the country. All resources from Isfahan, Shiraz, and impoverished rural areas were drained to erect a capital out of dirt and sand. Today, the land subsidence, the severe freshwater crisis, and the suffocatingly polluted air blanketing the 15 million people of Tehran are not the fault of the present. The origin of this crisis was already set in motion by that deeply political choice in the spring of 1786. In 1797, just 1 year after placing the crown of the Shahanshah King of Kings upon his head, Aga Muhammad Khan Qajar was assassinated. The irony of history lies in the fact that the man who sowed death for tens of thousands and beheaded the proudest chieftains lost his life to an incredibly foolish mistake. He ordered the execution of 3 valets simply for arguing and making noise. Yet he allowed them to live for 1 more night. And in that very night, the 3 desperate men sneaked into his tent and stabbed the tyrant to death. The king was dead, and the Qajar dynasty would later fade into the past, but his 1786 decision to relocate the capital left an eternal legacy. Tehran, from a tiny agricultural village hidden beneath pomegranate trees, stretched its arms and awoke to become one of the most important and dazzling megacities in the Islamic world. The history of Tehran is an epic written in blood cruelty and the sweat of the nameless. It bears the scars of revolution, oppression, and suffocating ecological pressure. But look at the vitality of this city. Tehran has absorbed every upheaval, transforming pain into power to relentlessly expand and modernize. Whether Tehran is currently bracing itself against geopolitical storms or whatever fierce challenges the future may bring with its unyielding history and fierce vitality, Tehran will never fall. That city will continue to stand tall, healing the scars of its eras and fully restoring its values, much like the seeds beneath the volcanic ash of Alborz, always knowing how to sprout and reach for the light. I am Robert Langdon from Reconstruction History. Thank you for joining us as we turn the bloody yet remarkably grand pages of Tehran's history. If you found this journey back in time brought you valuable insights, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel so that history can continue to be reborn. See you in the next chapters of history.